So good afternoon, distinguished guests and also fellow advocates for change. Welcome to the ASEAN Civil Society Conference 2023. Here for change. So today we gather here to delve into pivotal discussion that resonates deeply with the challenges our region faces currently, which is on climate crisis. How can we build climate resilience through framework change approach in family, young people, and interfaith ecosystem in Southeast Asia? My name is Ara Kusuma. I'm the Youth Years Manager of Yoga Indonesia and also a National Geographic Explorer. And I'm here today to be the moderator and also the MC for the whole session. It's going to be a 90-minute session. Let's try to get the most of it for today. But before we begin, I'd like to share a few information about the event. If the operator can share some of the agenda and also guidelines for today, that would be good. Okay, so here is the agenda for today. We'll have welcoming and then sharing from panelists, but the main event is actually going to be a group discussion where we will be gathering some insights from everyone, and the output will be some recommendations that we can share to the ASEAN government for the KTT. Next. So this is a hybrid session. So please keep in mind when you're speaking, because it will also be heard from the participants that is joining online, and also for the participants who are joining online, please turn off your microphone during the session, but then also turn on your camera so that everyone can see who is actually in the room. And we also have the translation services for online participants. So you can see the globe icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can choose whether you want to join as in Bahasa Indonesia or in English. Next. So as mentioned before, this session is hosted by UNIKA Southeast Asia, and I'd like to invite our regional director, the one and only Ibu Nani Zulminari, to join us on stage and give the opening remarks for today's topic. Ibu Nani, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ara. Good afternoon and welcome to Asian Civil Society Conference workshop hosted by Ashoka. The theme is Building Climate Resilience through Framework Change Approach in Family, Youth, Group, and Interfaith Ecosystem in Southeast Asia. We apologize that we don't have translations in this room, but if you have your mobile, you can get into the Zoom to get the translation, because we only have translation available through online. In the fast-changing world, as a global leading social entrepreneurs organization established since 1980s, Asoka believes that everyone needs to be a change maker. Learning from Asoka fellows around the world, there are 4,000 fellows and around 200 Asoka change makers in more than 95 countries. Asoka finds that empathy and resilience are fundamental for sustaining change making and movement to respond to the challenges and problems in our system today and in the future. As we are now experiencing climate crisis and our planet is in danger, we need to collectively building change-making movement around planet and climate matters by using multiple approach to change not only the system or structures, but also the narrative and framework on climate justice. Asoka also believes that family, young people, interfaith and spiritual indigenous community are among most affected victims and survivors of climate crisis, but at the same time are also powerful change makers and leaders to promote new climate narrative for framework change in the society. Therefore, in order to bring the voices and experiences of family, young people, faith and spiritual indigenous community, we organize this space. So on behalf of Ashoka, I would like to thank the contributors to these conversations, Heli Parlan from Indonesia, and then Bjorn, our Soka Fellow from Singapore. We have Aruni from Thailand and Betty from the Philippines. And of course, we would like to thank all of you, each of you here who participate in this room and in the virtual space. Have a great conversation and discussion, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Nani, for the opening remarks. So throughout this panel, we will explore how these interconnected systems of family, young people, indigenous communities, and also the interfaith communities can contribute to shape a climate resilient Southeast Asia. Our esteemed speakers will shed light on the dynamic intersections between the components and the overarching goals of climate adaptation as well. Now, without further ado, let us welcome our distinguished panelists who are actually currently joining all online virtually because they are coming from different countries in Southeast Asia who will guide us through this conversation. First of all, we have Ibu Herning Parlan, the director of UNIKA Atma Jaya. Ibu Herning has 20 years of experience in humanitarian and environmental sectors. She is the vice chairman and on-environment institutions of Muhammadiyah and National Environment Disaster Management Institution of Asia. Together with Ashoka and her organization Eko Bineka, Ibu Hening has involved over 60 faith leaders across the country to mitigate climate crisis. Welcome, Ibu Hening.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ara.
Betsy Listino from the Pansigadan Advocacy Cooperative in the Philippines. Betty has been a community-based development communication specialist for 15 years. Being an indigenous person herself, Betty founded the Pansigadan Advocacy Cooperative as a community of practitioners from various fields who, in the spirit of cooperation, are committed to the principle of Tiget for the common good. Welcome, Betty. How are you today?
I'm good, and I'm thrilled to be with you. So good evening, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon to you too. Our third panelist for today is Bjorn Loh from Singapore. Bjorn is Nasioka Fellow and also the co-founder of Edible Garden City. Bjorn is integrating farming into cityscapes, especially in Singapore, which helps the citizens reconsider the potential of their limited yet promising land. Through his organization, Edible Garden City, Bjorn uses farming as a tool to help communities produce their own food, lessen dependency on other systems, and experience the direct benefits from gardening. Welcome, Bjorn.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're honored to have you as well in this room. We're still waiting for one more panelist who will be joining later, probably. And her name is Aru, the founder of Arira, a platform to promote zero-waste circular economy and community connection, which believes that many problems in the city can be solved by the power of people. People in the community can use AriCoin to exchange for recyclables, used or forwardable belongings, skill sharings, food from shops, and extra. Perhaps she'll be joining in the middle of the sessions later, but we're still waiting for her later. Let's begin right away. While we have the three distinguished panelists in the room currently, and we also have a lot of participants joining in person right now in Atma Jaya University and also online through Zoom. So I'd like to go first to Bjorn, since kids and families have been at the heart of the Edible Garden City since the beginning that you founded the organization. What prompted you to prioritize them as the starting point for addressing environmental challenges?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And as a social enterprise, we have been in operations for 12 years. And a lot of we work with diverse community groups, and youth and children has been one of our key focus at the very early stages of our social enterprise journey. And a lot of times, if you look at it, family as a unit is really important because a lot of habits and ideals and formulation of a person, of a kid, starts at home. And we have seen actually really working with kids and family to be really important as well, because not only just from the parents actually uh, invoking values about food and food waste, but actually it's really the kids are bringing a lot of insights onto dinner table conversation. So I give you an example that we had parents come to us and tell us that, oh, I've only know about food growing or the issue of food waste because my kid goes to school and there's a curriculum in school that talks about these things, and actually the kid is actually educating the parents on certain issues, and together as a family unit, they go and do activities around that, and then that in some sense build advocacy and resiliency within the family because they do it as a unit. At home, they try and reduce their plastic waste from food. They compost their food waste. They try and grow their own food together. And this sort of reverse participation through the kids has been what we have seen becoming more of a trend over time, which is actually quite beautiful in its own kind of makeup, and and it really starts with the adolescents and the kids, and there's so much more we can do.
Absolutely, I agree with your perspective as well, that kids is actually, they're not glass half empty, but glass half full, which can also share some perspectives towards the environmental challenges and how can we, bring about the creative solutions to address it. Thinking about different perspectives, I'd like to go to Ibu Hening as well, where the name of your organization is called UNIKA. Literally means eco is just like environment, and Bineka as in Bineka Tunggal Ika, which means diversity, brings different perspectives towards the issue of environment. And you also involve a lot of faith-based leaders and organizations in the initiative. What do you think, why do you think it is important for us to involve the different faith-based communities and organizations as well in building climate resilience?
Yes, thank you so much, Ara. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, for sure that the climate change is a big challenge and the big problem and around of us. As we have many peoples, hook peoples from in the world, not only in Indonesia, but also in the world, that more than 70% peoples in the world have faith or religions or spiritual. So it means if any challenges related with the climate change, it should be also connected with the spiritual actors. And here, in the recent situation of the climate change, I think that we need has a shift from the future threats to clear and present the dangers. Remember that until now, we got the more victim in the global extreme by a weather event, from fires, also climate, flood, destroying intercommunities and others. So the approach to the spiritual community is very important because they have the value of faith, and each of the value of faith have a good teaching, or all of the religion, all of the faith have a teaching how to protect the climate change. So why we should be working with the community in the religious base, because they have a powerful, that is I think like that, Ara.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Ibu Hening. It seems like environmental issues become the unifying message to gather a lot of interfaith communities in working together towards the same vision. The planet is for everyone. It affected every one of us, regardless of our faith or our religions, and it is important for us to working together hand in hand, or in Indonesia it's called gotong royong, to
Yes.
achieve such a shared vision for a better future. Last but not least, I'll hand it over to Betty to share more on the indigenous community perspective. That indigenous peoples across the globe are uniquely equipped to deal with the climate crisis, and they're actually the ones mostly significantly affected by it. However, why are they often being left out of the decision-making processes and conversations related to this matter? And how do you think we can improve the inclusivity for the solution?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'll just build on the ongoing discussions already. Yes, you are right. As indigenous peoples, as an indigenous person myself, I know very well that our survival really is very much impacted by the impacts of climate change. And I'll show you that in a bit in my slide presentation, just very quick. And at the same time, we might have the solution also. We are part of that. The solutions that we can put out there is our perspective as well, the way we look at our own worldview. We are known as people of the land or people of the sea. It depends where you are in your ancestral domain. In our case, we live in the mountains. We are people of the mountains. We know very well our survival have greatly been dependent into our intricate understanding of the land. And I think that perspective, that sustainability perspective, could really greatly help move us, not only our people, but also if we could share this to the greater population, it could really help us move forward. So as an organization, this has been quite a lot of our in our thoughts, specifically when you see that you are every day you live in an environment where it continues to degrade, and also because the backbone of our local economy is farming, that's in agriculture. So I hope you're seeing my screen. You would see here my province. So we live in a high elevation area, 2,000 meters above sea level. We are known to be the most vulnerable province in the Philippines to climate change impacts because it directly hit vegetable farming, which is considered the backbone of our local economy. The hazard that we experience range from, the impacts of extreme weather events, which include typhoons. This can cause landslide, and it could potentially impact about 60% of our total land area. So in terms of temperatures as well, we are experiencing extreme drops in terms of temperature. So the recent minimum daily temperature in our province have dropped while the daily temperature have risen. So extremes, and they may be causing frost, which directly impact, of course, agricultural activity. Now, these effects actually we already exacerbate what we already experience. So you could see here social and environmental as well as mental health. You may be wondering if how these things are related, but maybe in the group discussion later on, the breakout session, I could really discuss more of that. But it would range to the hazardous effects of agrochemical inputs, because this is tightly connected to commercial farming, and at the same time the social impacts, which would include depression and suicide. So I think that's now.
Thank you, Betty. One of the things that I just learned recently from the indigenous community was that some things are actually better left unchanged. Development doesn't necessarily translate into building more things, but sometimes it is through preservations or conserving the what is actually already existing right now, including the traditional knowledge and also values from the indigenous communities, are the way to actually move forward and preserve the current kind of like state of the environment for a better future. Now, since we have agreed and understood better on the importance of involving this diverse group from family, kids, young people, interfaith, until indigenous communities, um, based on your experience, this is for all the panelists, what strategies would you recommend for effectively engaging them in becoming active contributors to the solutions? And since Ibu Haning Caroline just raised her hand, so I'd like to hand it over to you first and share your perspective on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Ara. Yeah, because it's three questions that you have to give me. I not finished to answer, so I think I will finalize now to answer your question. So what is the strategy? I think recognizing role of the spiritual communities in addressing of the climate challenge. So Ekobinika Muhammadiyah, Green Faith, and also collaboration with the Asoka initiative seeks a showcase and foster the development of the innovation solution with the collaboration, capacity building, and also working together to give solution in the field. So in here, three things that we have strategy is number one, is how to collaboration multi-faith or spiritual communities from many religions in Indonesia with the capacity building. So we have the city spiritual inspires program, and also we just finished last week like short course together with Asoka International about the city program with many around 83 peoples from multi-faith. And number two is strategy is the innovation solution. So how they are working together to give the solution in the communities in around of their life. And number three is how to work together, maybe to build the model and working together, not only in the field, but also like in more up then in the field, like in the kabupaten, province, or better in the national, maybe bring in the advocacy, but also bring the model and sharing with the lesson learned to others. Thank you, Ara. Back to you.
Sorry, I'm still muted. Since like the strategy itself involves a lot of discussions from different groups of people that also will affect the framework and also the mindset of everyone that is involved in it. And that's also why we put framework as part of, one of the emphasis on our title, that change is not only about program, which is like direct services, but also how can we influence the mindset and also the framework in which people are utilizing nowadays from the old game towards the new game that is more sustainable. Perhaps Bjorn, would you like to also share your perspectives on the how-tos and how can other people also be involved as part of the solution as well?
Thank you. I think the strategy for us broadly is split into two. And one is really creating the hardware and the infrastructure around supporting places and place for people to come together. So whether they form then a resonance to the land and nature connection through the space, and that's relatively the hardware. People start to form place-bound identity around the spaces that they are nurturing. The second component is really the software. You can have a beautiful edible garden or an urban farm producing food, but it can just produce, but people do not have activities to do in them. And the software is really um, putting in programs to activate the space, bringing families together to participate in that space. It really then creates that community around the space. And over the last 15 years, we have put close to 300 edible gardens in Singapore. And these are then spaces where community can come together. But I want to sort of share one last point, which then is really in line with what Betty has spoken about on indigenous and native knowledge around food. I believe that for the future, for the food system, we need native and indigenous knowledge to guide us to a more equitable and more climate resilient food system. I give you an example. In Singapore, we eat food from all around the world. We demand food from all around the world. But a lot of the things that we eat do not grow in our climate. And it takes a long time to change habits and mindsets, which the native people have always used and eaten, the crops that are around them. But today we have laws and policies that inhibit the indigenous people from practicing foraging and fishing. And these kind of knowledge and these kind of understanding has to come back again. And I hope that that can really change the way our food system evolve in the next century through native and indigenous knowledge. So back to you, Arya.
Question viewer. Since Jakarta is also a metropolitan city like Singapore with limited land, and you mentioned that you already created 300 edible gardens in Singapore itself. How can people in Jakarta and other urban areas in Indonesia to also replicate the solution of edible garden city?
Oh, is that a question for me again?
Yes, just quick steps on
Yeah,
if
I think
people here in the room wants to also establish their edible garden in their own home. Like, what are the steps that they can take right now?
I think Jakarta and many other cities it's a very different archetype, right? It's a very different urban design as compared to Singapore. And I think Indonesia and Philippines alone do have a big agriculture industry. So the urgency may not be as similar to Singapore. But what we have seen globally in cities that do have agriculture as a backbone, use urban agriculture as a community building tool to bring people together. And a lot of times there have been success of actually bridging between rural and urban agriculture systems for rural farmers to actually sell their produce in the city so they can garner a higher income stream, or for urban people to learn about agriculture so that they can then move back into the countryside to start an enterprise around that. I think Jakarta is probably right. I think trends are great, and urban farming is a trend at this point of time, and it's good to kind of latch on that to build the momentum for future.
Thank you, Bjorn. And you mentioned as well previously that one of the key to build a more resilient system for food and agriculture is to come back to the native knowledge and also indigenous habits and also settings as well. And I'd like to go to Betty now on your perspectives. How can we build a more resilient culture for the better environment in Southeast Asia through the knowledge of indigenous communities?
Thank you very much. So thank you also for highlighting the contribution of indigenous peoples. Indeed, I think we have a framework to really help us move forward, not only in our specific communities, but actually the world at large, if they would only just consider how we look at things. And maybe it would really help if I could show you how we look at the world before I will go to speak about strategies. So allow me again to share a slide. So just a moment. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So when we stand, usually we look at the horizon. It's very common to mountain people. And usually what goes to your mind when you look at the horizon is not yourself, really. When you actually reflect, we always position ourselves with others. And in this case, Sak'en is I, Sik'a is you, Familia is family, Ili is community, and environment is Batawa. This is just what you call in social science, socio-ecologic or ecologic framework. But basically, that's how I think not only us, but most indigenous people think. And that's why when we think of what is good to us or see good to us is what we call good. We always think in terms of others, our family, our community, and the environment, those intricate layers that are connected into each other. And so as a cooperative, we thought of this because we operate as a very small cooperative, as a social enterprise. And we embedded it in our social mission to think of implementing programs that would really marry all these concepts. And so when we did this, we thought of maybe what is good to me should be good to you, the community or your family first, the community and the environment. And how could you do this is to make sure that your programs are integrated into this particular framework of thinking, which is very close to what we do. So when we serve our indigenous communities, basically, which are farming rural communities, we think in terms of not only of their livelihood, making it sustainable, which is one that we address in terms of our food and innovation and sustainable technologies program. We also think in terms of their mental health, which may be impacted because of their continuous use of chemical inputs. There are a lot of correlates between using agrochemical inputs into the mental health of our people. Then you also think in terms of structures that would support it, the policy environment that needs to support programs that would enable them to really achieve or access the services they want. And so you would like to provide support in that. And that's what we do in our third program, the integrative systems for evidence-based policies and practice. And then you also think in terms of thinking outside the box. How could you provide creative solutions with the interplay of education, communication, and information technology? All of this, which I think the asset of our members through our cooperative could actually provide. For us, that is what we can do to actually provide a holistic services that is integrated and that is responsive to the present and the future needs of our of the communities that we are serving. So back to you.
That was a very comprehensive and holistic approaches towards climate resiliency, which also includes well-being of the human and also the nature itself. And that it's not human and nature, but it's actually, we are also one part of the nature itself. And if we want to have a better and sustainable future, we also need to coexist together with other kind of like animals and living beings in this world as well. So we are at time and we need to move forward to the next section, which is our focus group discussions. But before we go there, please share us one closing statement into what is actually one important lesson you have learned in building climate resilience in society? Ibu Hening, would you mind to go first? And then Bjorn and last but not least is Betty.
Okay. So, Ara, I have a question here. So we go first to the group, or we answer the
We are going
question?
to have one closing statement first, and then after this, we'll go into small
Okay.
groups for the group discussions.
Okay.
Okay, over to you, Ibu Hening, for the closing statement. What is one important lesson that you have learned in working towards climate resilience in society?
Thank you so much, Ara. The important things that we can do and also concern is how to bring the value from the individual, from the faith, to become the action. All of the people in the world, its majority, have the spiritual. Bring it to the action, and not only the individual, but the collective action is very important to tackle the climate change. Thank you, Ara.
Thank you, Ibu Hening. Over to you, Bjorn.
Actually, I have a lot to say in this because there was a lot of learnings I had. But there's two, and one in 15 years of working in the food system, I've seen two food crises come and go. Every time there's a food crisis, everyone reacts and work positively towards change. But this analogy that we have on climate crisis, that humanity is a frog in a slow pot of water, is that we tend to forget about the troubles, and then we go back to the normalcy, and then it seems that we keep doing that, right? So what I'm saying is that we just have to keep pressing on, and not forget the struggles and the problems that are going to come beyond. The second one is that though I talked about trends previously and following trends, don't get caught up on trends. We have been caught up with trends with technology and indoor farming and AI and automation. That is actually been a problem because it's not solving the issue at hand. Because in indoor farming, we're using a lot of energy, a lot of water, and actually we are actually causing a lot more problems than solving the problem. So try and look beyond trends and go back to the fundamentals of what the earth and the climate needs, and what the people needs. So those are my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bjorn. And last but not least, let's hear from Betty.
Yes, I only have one answer to that, and that is inclusion of our indigenous knowledge. It pays to listen to indigenous peoples. We have survived a lot of pandemic, we have been here and influenced by colonization, and we intricately know and we relate so well with our natural environment. It's important to listen to the knowledge that were harnessed by thousands of years of experience, and maybe marry this to the scientific knowledge that we know now, the technology that could be used to actually facilitate and scale this to the rest of the world. We are living in one earth, and it's important that the survival of one should be the survival of all. And we shouldn't be just doing something on our own. We should really think of our neighbors. We always do that. Indigenous people always do that. I live in a place where we are actually the watershed of our main island in Luzon. So Philippines, you have the main island, which is Luzon. And we actually hold the river system that water the rice producing areas in our country. And when we will not take care of our environment, when we will not remain, sometimes you cannot expand, you cannot go in industrial scale, because you have to think in terms of the water production. So that's why you cannot convert much of our forest. And that is a sacrifice that we do for the rest of the population in our island to also, to also be able to have access to water or irrigation. And without us being understood in that way, then we may also continuously feel marginalized in terms of our rights and in terms of our importance. And I think I echo the same articulations of the rest of the indigenous peoples in the world. Our way of life is actually the survival of most. So I think that's the important lesson for me: inclusion and participation in our sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. If I may summarize from three speakers, there are three important words on the important lessons you have learned throughout the experiences. First is to listen. Second is around inclusivity. And third is to take action. If you only listen and then just talk without the action part, it will be, the situation will be the same and there will be no changes. And also, last but not least, is how can we improve the games or the rules that we're playing right now? Because if we stay to play in the old rules, the same rules in which the issues were being created, we will be reinventing the wheels again. And how can we take leap steps towards a more sustainable future by working together from diverse groups, including the families, young people, the interfaith communities, and also indigenous communities as well, through framework change. And as Bjorn mentioned before, the hardware, which is the infrastructure, and also the software, which is the mindset, and tackling and building the climate resilience together for Southeast Asia. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Bjorn, and thank you, Ibu Henning, for the discussion today. Let's move towards the next session, which is a focus group discussions, in which we will hear, as Betty mentioned, listen first. Let's listen to what this diverse group of people have in this room and also online virtually with these guiding questions. So first, we will have 30 minutes for this group discussion. First is please introduce yourself so that you know who actually is speaking in your group. And first, okay. Can you go to the next slide on the question? For those in the Zoom, you can go to the Indonesian group or the English-speaking group for the discussion. Whereas for the ones in this room, you can decide within your group whether you want to speak in Bahasa Indonesia or you want to speak in English. It's really up to you. But please first introduce yourself. Second is answer these questions on what can we do as civil society, especially as a family, youth group, indigenous, and also interfaith community members, and in accelerating climate resilience in the ASEAN region. And then second is what support can the ASEAN government provide to enable your initiatives on climate resilience? So first is the activities, your initiatives itself, and then second, what kind of support that you need from the government in the Southeast Asia to enable you to realize and grow the initiatives that you have written before. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Rina, who will facilitate the next session. Over to you, Rina. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Maybe I want to shout out and give a red hand. Hello. Okay. I want to know who's from Malaysia. Okay, hello, Malaysia.
Halo, Asia.
Okay, hi everyone. So for this Zoom sessions, I will be taking over the facilitation. Okay. So from now on, I will be speaking in Bahasa Indonesia because if I see here like 90% of the participants here in the Zoom is Indonesian people and they speak in Bahasa. So apologize for the participant here who will be speaking in English, but don't worry because we will have a translation as well here. So just to make sure that you can go to the globe icon and choose the language you want to listen in. So if you want to listen in English, you can just go to the English channel and then you will hear the translation from the translator. Oke. Sip. Oke, kita bisa mulai ya semuanya. Baik. Terima kasih banyak sekali lagi karena sudah menyempatkan hadir di sini dan ikut berdiskusi. Waktu kita tidak banyak, tapi semoga kita bisa memaksimalkan waktu yang singkat ini untuk bisa menggali praktik-praktik baik yang sudah kakak-kakak semua di sini lakukan gitu. Tadi kita sudah mendengar banyak poin-poin juga dari semua panelis kita, ada dari Bu Hening, ada Betty, dan juga Beyond, dan sebenarnya kita juga kedatangan satu lagi panelis yaitu Aru. Welcome Aru. Selamat datang Aru, telah hadir juga di sini. Jadi kita ada 4 representatif negara yang berbeda nih di sini yang akan berdiskusi dengan kita bersama. Nah, di sini juga akan jadi kesempatan yang tepat juga untuk teman-teman peserta di sini untuk berbagi apa yang sudah dilakukan di organisasi masyarakat sipilnya masing-masing, gitu ya. Seperti yang tadi Ara sebagai moderator sudah sampaikan, jadi di sekitar 20-25 menit ke depan kita akan mendiskusikan 2 pertanyaan. Kita akan ke pertanyaan pertama dulu, jadi bisa disiapkan juga pemikiran-pemikirannya gitu ya. Yang pertanyaan pertama adalah, apa sih yang bisa kita lakukan sebagai bagian dari organisasi masyarakat sipil, entah itu dari organisasi yang bergerak dengan keluarga, atau dengan anak muda, atau dengan komunitas lintas iman, untuk bisa mengakselerasi atau mempercepat ketahanan iklim yang ada di regional Asia Tenggara gitu. Tapi kalau mau bercerita dari konteks negara atau mungkin daerahnya masing-masing juga nggak apa-apa banget gitu ya. Jadi silahkan bisa mulai berbagi di sini. Oke, ini popcorn style aja. Yang mau duluan boleh banget. Silahkan. Kalau mau langsung angkat tangan atau bisa juga disampaikan di kolom komentar. Gitu. Pertanyaannya lagi tadi ya, apa yang bisa kita lakukan sih sebagai bagian dari organisasi masyarakat sipil? Atau kalau mau memberikan respon dulu atau pertanyaan kepada para panelis juga silahkan. Dari situ kita bisa mulai diskusi. Ada yang mau berbagi? Atau mungkin saya panggil aja ya untuk memulai ya. Boleh nggak kalau saya panggil ya? Boleh lah ya. Belum ada yang angkat tangan ya?
Aku boleh, Mbak Ayan.
Oke, silahkan
Boleh,
Reza.
Oke, terima kasih teman-teman. Saya Reza, kebetulan saya memang bekerja di Ashoka saat ini, tapi memang pertanyaannya sangat menarik ya. Ini pertanyaannya kan berarti apa yang bisa kita lakukan sebagai masyarakat sipil ya. Jadi sebetulnya aku sangat tertarik untuk diskusi-diskusi seperti ini karena biasanya banyak yang ngikutin tuh perwakilan dari komunitas. Nah, menurutku saat kita pengen memperjuangkan sendirian tuh lebih susah biasanya. Kayak hal yang simpel nih di komplek aku aja mau melarang warga untuk bakar sampah itu susah sekali gitu. Tapi kalau aku woro-woronya grup gitu kayak grup tenisnya komplek atau grup runningnya komplek, terus kita kayak lebih terlihat lebih strong dan itu justru impact-nya itu lebih besar sama sekali seperti itu. Jadi aku sih melihatnya seperti itu. Jadi sebenarnya community itu bukan cuma numbers-nya ya, tapi sebenarnya itu ada punya influence yang sangat besar dari sisi message juga. Jadi orang jadi lebih melihat ini sebagai sebuah collective effort. Begitu Mbak Ayan. Maaf ada background anak kecil ya.
Ya, Mbak Nia, sorry, Reza dan Rania barusan menyampaikan poin yang sangat bagus ya tentang pentingnya sebuah upaya kolektif gitu. Karena kalau saya juga melihat bahwa yang namanya aksi iklim itu kalau dilakukan sendiri itu jadi kayak ngerasa sekarang anehnya ya, sekarang anehnya malah kalau misalkan ke pasar gitu ya, bawa tempat tempat makan gitu untuk masukin telur atau ikan itu malah disebut aneh gitu. Padahal sebenarnya yang harus dilakukan adalah yang seperti itu. Nah, kalau kita bisa melakukan itu bersama-sama kan jadi nggak aneh lagi ya untuk dilakukan gitu sih. Itu juga salah satu yang saya lihat sebagai hal yang perlu kita mulai dari sekarang gitu. Terima kasih banyak Reza sudah memulai diskusinya. Ada lagi teman-teman yang mau berbagi, silahkan. Oke, dari Kak Sekaratna. Silakan
Halo,
Kak.
halo Kak, selamat sore.
Selamat
Aku
sore.
Sekar, bagian dari Ibu Asaka. Ibu Asaka itu satu gerakan baru dari pribumi gitu ya. Jadi ini sebenarnya aku bukan di organisasinya, tapi relawan aja gitu ya. Sebenarnya aku setuju banget sih sama yang tadi disampaikan sama Kak siapa tadi ya, Kak Reza ya atau Kak siapa, mengenai apa collective action. Sama yang kalau aku sebagai ibu-ibu gitu ya, sepertinya perlu untuk mendekatkan isu-isu krisis iklim ini yang terkesan besar atau serius kepada hal-hal yang sifatnya sederhana gitu ya, yang ibu-ibu banget, yang relate dengan keseharian gitu. Seperti misalnya kita pola konsumsi yang cukup, terus apalagi ya, memilah sampah dan sebagainya. Dan itu tuh kita jadikannya sebagai gerakan yang bersama-sama, bukannya dan seringkali tuh yang ditemui adalah orang tuh bingung gitu loh mau mulai dari mana. Jadi yang perlu kita bareng-bareng suarakan tuh yuk kita mulai dulu dari yang sederhana. Salah-salah dikit nggak apa-apa, tapi kita lakukannya bareng-bareng supaya ya itu makin kuat gitu loh. Supaya kita menciptakan kenormalan baru gitu. Peduli iklim tuh kenormalan baru. Gitu kali Kak. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Kak Sekar. Betul banget ya tadi mendekatkan krisis iklim ini ke kehidupan sehari-hari dan ke hal-hal yang lebih sederhana. Terima kasih banyak. Oke, by the way untuk para panelis di sini, Bjorn, Aru, Bu Hening dan juga Betty, kalau misalkan ada hal-hal yang pengen direspon, boleh menggunakan chat dulu. Nanti saya akan memanggil juga secara ini ya, secara berjalannya waktu untuk juga memberikan respon ke diskusi ini gitu. Oke, tadi ada yang sudah angkat tangan ya, ada Mbak Deshi, silahkan. Kak Desi, apakah sudah bisa berbicara? Saya belum bisa mendengar. Oh, Kak Desi sepertinya terlempar ya. Oke, nggak apa-apa. Saya mau membacakan dulu nih yang tadi sudah disampaikan oleh Kak Sarma. Kak Sarma menyampaikan di kolom komentar nih, mengurangi penggunaan pupuk kimia bagi pertanian dan lebih mengutamakan pupuk organik. Ya, ini tadi ini ya terkait dengan ketahanan pangan dan bagaimana kita bisa lebih peduli dan juga juga peduli sama apa yang akan kita makan gitu ya, tidak cuman tentang produksinya biar banyak, tapi juga memastikan ini sustainable gitu, atau berkelanjutan sampai nanti. Gitu. Oke, ini ada lagi yang angkat tangan. Maaf tadi siapa yang angkat tangan? Ada tadi
Halo,
siapa yang angkat tangan ya? Saya
saya
silakan.
Desi.
Oh iya,
Oh, Desi
silakan Mbak
dulu.
Desi. Ya.
Iya, kebetulan saya kan di Akademi Paradikta juga ada kelas-kelas belajar akademia ya dari ibu-ibu kader-kader desa, ibu PKK gitu. Dan kebetulan di salah satu prakteknya juga sudah mulai mempraktekkan bagaimana menjaga bumi, menjaga iklim, misalnya dengan penanaman pohon-pohon gitu, penanaman pohon mangga gitu, termasuk juga sayur-sayuran gitu. Jadi hal itu sudah mulai dilakukan walaupun kecil. Kalau untuk terkait penanganan sampah juga kita mengorganisir ada bank sampah, walaupun sekarang ada persoalan yang cukup ini ya, cukup krusial juga di mana mereka nggak bisa jual sampah plastiknya. Saya nggak tahu sebenarnya penyebabnya apa, tapi itu sehingga sekarang kasus apa yang terjadi itu sampahnya pada numpuk sehingga orang udah mulai kurang termotivasi untuk mengelola apa ngumpul-ngumpulin plastik lagi. Itu juga sangat disayangkan. Mungkin itu dari saya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Kak Desi. Berarti sebenarnya sudah ada yang memulai ya kayak tadi penanganan sampah dengan cara mengumpulkan bank sampah dan juga tadi udah ada penanaman pohon di sekitar rumah. Tapi memang ini sebuah PR yang masih besar juga gitu ya, yang masih harus terus digalakkan yaitu gimana agar lebih banyak lagi orang yang peduli karena sekarang malah sampah-sampah itu juga ini ya nggak semuanya berjalan dengan baik gitu bank sampah tersebut. Oke, saya juga ingin mendorong teman-teman yang dari luar Indonesia untuk berbagi. Tadi saya lihat ada yang dari Singapura, ada yang dari Filipina juga, atau mungkin dari negara lain yang tidak teridentifikasi di namanya. Tapi kalau misalkan mau menyampaikan, silahkan menggunakan bahasa Inggris, nanti akan diterjemahkan ke bahasa Indonesia untuk teman-teman yang berbahasa Indonesia. Gitu. Sip. Mungkin saya mau ke Aru dulu. Aru, apakah Aru bisa mendengar saya sekarang? Oke. สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadika. Okay,
สวัสดี
any,
ใหม่ค่ะ
as I mentioned in the chat box, I think it should be something very easy that anybody can do. And it can start from separate trashes. And as our platform area around do, we find community managers in each community to that they should into environmental subjects, and they should provide the facility for the community to be easy to find a place for the recycles to go to. And actually our platform we create a coin to be incentive for people to separate trash and use the coin to connect with the community to shops to get some privilege to try some products and it should be fun to do something for climate for environment. So we start with trash separation, so that is easy and it's a good start to start the conversation, and we could like input more information about climate resilience and how people can participate in other topics, like such as just to state their point of view about the climate and what they want for their life. That is another way that they can participate, and we can accumulate that comments and propose to the government.
Terima kasih banyak. Bentar ya. Terima kasih banyak Aru sudah berbagi. Ini sebenarnya bisa sekalian menjawab ya tadi kendala atau tantangan yang dihadapi oleh Kak Desi terkait bank sampah yang kemudian tidak berjalan dengan yang kita ekspektasikan gitu ya. Jadi dengan adanya Aricoin ini bisa mendorong semangat orang-orang untuk bisa mengumpulkan sampah gitu, karena setelah itu mereka akan bisa mendapatkan manfaat dan juga komunitas di sekitarnya bisa mendapatkan manfaat gitu dari keterlibatan orang yang mengumpulkan sampah tersebut gitu ya. Dan poin yang kedua ini bisa jadi bridging kita atau jembatan kita untuk ke pertanyaan yang kedua, yaitu terkait bagaimana kita bisa menggali apa sih yang dipikirkan oleh masyarakat lokal dan apa mimpi-mimpi mereka di masa depan, dan semua itu kita saring dan kita kemudian ajukan sebagai sebuah rekomendasi atau saran-saran gitu ya kepada para pemangku kepentingan gitu. Nah, ini nyambung ke pertanyaan yang kedua karena sebenarnya ini juga memberikan konteks ke teman-teman yang ada di sini bahwa diadakannya sesi ini adalah untuk memberikan rekomendasi atau masukan kepada para pemimpin di ASEAN gitu, nanti akan ada summitnya atau ada forumnya. Di sini kita bisa mengumpulkan sebanyak mungkin rekomendasi-rekomendasi atau saran kepada mereka gitu. Karena kita yang ada di akar rumput, kita yang tahu apa yang sebenarnya terjadi, tantangan-tantangan apa yang kita hadapi. Ini sangat penting banget gitu untuk kita memberikan point of view gitu ya, atau pemikiran kepada mereka. Nah, pertanyaannya adalah apa sih dukungan yang kawan-kawan di sini harapkan dari ASEAN government atau pemerintah di Asia Tenggara untuk bisa menyediakan atau memampukan teman-teman semua bisa mengaktifkan ya atau memulai inisiatif di isu ketahanan iklim gitu. Jadi apa sih yang diharapkan? Nah, apa rekomendasi-rekomendasi yang teman-teman pengen berikan gitu. Ada yang mau berbagi? Oke, saya sambil membaca juga ya di kolom komentar ada banyak nih. Terima kasih banyak juga Betty, Aru tadi juga sudah menyampaikan di kolom komentar. Ada Kak Kila juga. Oke, terus terakhir tadi ada Kak Adi dan Kak Jojor. Oke. Sip, ada yang mau menyampaikan terlebih dahulu apa rekomendasinya atau saran-sarannya untuk para pemangku kepentingan atau pemimpin di ranah ASEAN?
Boleh saya Non? Sebelum
Silahkan,
hilang
siapa
sinyal.
nih?
Ya, ya.
Kak Haning ya?
Iya, sebelum
Oke,
hilang
sip.
sinyal soalnya. Ya, terima kasih banyak. Yang pertama adalah mari kita mengumpulkan pembelajaran dari grassroots yang bisa dituliskan atau menjadi bahan pelajaran, menjadi bahan yang itu menjadi salah satu catatan penting agar para pemimpin di ASEAN itu bisa memutuskan sesuatu dengan tepat. Jadi membangun knowledge management dari grassroots sehingga ini menjadi bahan pembelajaran yang baik. Tadi ada teman-teman bilang bahwa mari kita mendengar dari masyarakat indigenous people. Kemudian mari kita mendengarkan dari komunitas yang kena dampak atau kena fossil fuel misalnya. Kemudian ada teman-teman yang mengatakan bagaimana dengan tidak adanya toleransi dan seterusnya. Mari kita catat itu menjadi bahan pembelajaran sehingga bisa menjadi bahan catatan penting untuk para pemimpin ASEAN. Yang kedua adalah bahwa pentingnya kolaborasi untuk membangun kesamaan action. Jadi kayak misalnya sesama negara Asia itu kita sebenarnya sama-sama menjadi negara yang kena dampak dari perubahan iklim yang sangat besar. Jadi kalau kita bicara tentang damage and loss, maka negara-negara ASEAN itu mempunyai dampak yang sangat besar. Mari kita bicara tentang damage and loss ini untuk dikampanyekan dengan baik. Yang ketiga adalah ayo kita mendorong para pemimpin ASEAN ini untuk memberikan akses terhadap financing. Jadi push kepada negara-negara yang melakukan yang memberikan dampak besar kepada dunia atas terjadinya perubahan iklim itu untuk memberikan akses keuangan kepada negara-negara terutama negara-negara Asia dan mereka yang kena dampak karena perubahan iklim. Mungkin itu Mbak yang saya sampaikan. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak, Kak Hening. Wah, ini sudah mencangkup banyak hal yang terkait tadi ada manajemen pembelajaran yang harus kita kumpulkan dari akar rumput. Tadi ada dari masyarakat adat dan orang-orang yang terdampak. Yang kedua, pastinya kolaborasi kesamaan aksi di negara-negara Asia Tenggara. Sama yang ketiga adalah mendorong pemimpin ASEAN agar lebih bisa memberikan pendanaan gitu kepada negara-negara yang memang memberikan dampak ke ketahanan iklim gitu. Oke, ada lagi yang mau memberikan rekomendasi? Mungkin berdasarkan
Boleh saya
ya.
dikit, Mbak, dari
Oh,
Bali.
silakan Pak Agung Alit. Pak Agung
Oke.
Alit ini Ashoka Fellow juga nih. Silakan Pak Agung Alit.
Terima kasih. Kalau saya Agung Alit dari Bali, saya mempraktekkan fair trade. I'm a fair trader, oke. Saya langsung aja apa yang bisa kepada pemimpin, tidak hanya pemimpin di Asia, dalam konteks, I'm talking in the context of Bali tourism ya. Itu tourism di Bali itu sudah toksik sekali dan sulit sekali orang melihat pariwisata itu toksik di Bali. Pariwisata itu sudah melebihi kayak dewa gitu. Kalau bisa kepada pemimpin ASEAN dan dunia bahkan stop dan berhenti investasi pariwisata di Bali menurut saya. Kalau mau bangun hotel lagi, bagaimana sawah-sawah, apalagi tadi banyak yang bicara tentang indigenous ya. Kalau di Bali ini, atau mungkin di Indonesia, indigenous sudah tidak bisa berkutik ke apa-apa lagi. Banyak masyarakat indigenous yang tergusur oleh kebijakan para oligarki ini. Kita lihat aja pembangunan semen di Bali, bagaimana bisa melihat di tengah sawah dibangun villa atau bungalow dan itu disebut kemajuan. Padahal kita rawan pangan akan segera ini. Sawah udah semua dikorbankan untuk pembangunan fasilitas pariwisata. Ini satu hal yang sangat di Bali ini kami terasa sekali. Dari darat, laut, udara kita dikepung semua pariwisata dan saya yakin teman-teman semua di sini juga di grup ini pasti punya kepedulian terhadap lingkungan, sudah memilah sampah, mensupport gerakan lingkungan, kita sudah lakukan itu. Kami sudah, kalau dalam konteks veteran, saya sudah action langsung bersama perajin di Bali, membuat barang tidak dengan kayu langka, kayu kita tersertifikat SPLK, sumbernya dari legal, kemudian kita beli dari sumber-sumber yang jelas gitu. Kemudian kita juga mempraktekkan 10 prinsip veteran, memberikan pelatihan desain, kemudian kita sudah tersertifikat gitu. Jadi menciptakan pasar, karena apapun alasannya kita sekarang hidup di atas platform yang kapitalis sekali, dan kita harus juga menjadi kapitalis yang sosial. Ya, jadi kita berikan desain, kita berikan akses pasar, dan kita bekerja direct dengan perajin yang tinggal di kampung. Kemudian kita ajak dia di lahannya yang kosong, kita ajak menanam albesia, kayu albesia atau di Jawa dibilang kayu sengon. Kita sudah lakukan, saya yakin teman-teman pasti melakukan, kalau konteksnya orang wacana besar, yang istilahnya think globally but act locally. Saya yakin teman-teman dengan kelompok masing-masing pasti sudah melakukan seperti apa yang kami lakukan dengan veteran di kalangan perajin. Nah, yang menjadi masalah kan ini para pengambil kebijakan ini. Di Bali tempat pembuangan sampah aja kita ributnya setengah mati. Kita sudah bersih di rumah, dibawa keluar, kacau lagi. Kemudian kita memasarkan barang kerajinan yang bagus, lalu datang pelaku bisnisnya di Bali, kita sudah tidak bersaing dengan perajin tetangga. Yang kita ajak bersaing sekarang orang Rusia, kita ajak. Dia jual kerajinan. Dia bisa dapat lebih murah. Apalagi kalau lihat berita terakhir, orang Rusia beli tanah di Bali 50 hektar. How can we control that? Gimana indigenous-nya di sini tidak akan berperan gitu. Indigenous di Bali beda sekali dengan indigenous di daerah lain. Indigenous di Bali mereka yang menginginkan agar semua invest di kampungnya dia. Alasan pengembangan lapangan kerja dan alasan kemajuan gitu. Semua menginginkan hotel. Jadi kalau kami bicara di Bali untuk menekan itu, mereka bilang kita gila. Gimana kok aneh ini anti pariwisata dibilang. Kami tidak anti pariwisata. If we look at in the reality how the tourism industry in Bali is unfair. Look at travel agent Japanese. This is I always say mention to every discussion ya. Tourist Japanese, travel agent Japanese, stay in the hotel belong to Japanese, okay? And then food material coming from Japan, the chef from Japan. I'm not anti-Japanese. That's not my point. This is the reality in Bali. Semua begitu. Sekarang Rusia, Amerika, kita yang lokal hanya disuruh buat upacara aja terus. Dan ini yang kami betul-betul dari siapa yang kita ajak berjuang begini. Dan akhirnya ya kami tidak mau menyerah juga. So I think the best thing to do it to me, according to us in Bali, build more space. Like what happened, we build Taman Baca as a pilot project. Kita membangun taman baca di tengah kota Denpasar, itu minim sekali bangunan semen. Pagarnya semua tanaman, ada library, ada diskusi buku, diskusi film. There we put the message, let's do something for the environment. Kalau ada pembeli kami yang datang, kita ajak mengunjungi kebun, kita ajak menanam, kita belikan pohon alpukat, kita membangun plan monumen. The principle behind that is more plant, less man, kind like that. Kita ajak menanam pohon nangka. Kami bangun monumen tanaman yang merepresentasikan 10 prinsip veteran. Jadi 10 tanaman pohon nangka kita tanam untuk menunjukkan nangka itu kayunya good for the building, daunnya good for the upacara, buahnya good for the vegetarian. Biar saya tidak terlalu banyak, begitu kira-kira yang bisa saya lakukan. Saya yakin teman-teman sudah melakukan, tapi persoalan kita bagaimana dengan pemimpin ini, kebijakan ini. Kebijakan kita sudah, semua oligarki kita sudah semua tahu, paham, dan gimana melawannya saya juga tidak tahu. Barangkali bisa di-share dari teman-teman lain, maybe from Singapore, from Thailand, so what can we do together? So please tell the leaders now, all of us, make sure when you consume something, consume certain product. It's guarantee for good for the environment and good quality too. Saya kira itu. Terima kasih.
Suksma Bli,
Yui.
terima kasih banyak sudah berbagi. Wah, ini sekalian kita bisa tahu ya konteks yang terjadi di Bali, dan saya yakin tidak hanya terjadi di Bali, karena kayaknya ini akan jadi masalah yang umum terjadi di banyak kota-kota turis, dan nggak cuma di Indonesia aja, kayaknya di banyak Asia Tenggara, karena Asia Tenggara itu tempatnya sangat indah ya, tapi kemudian karena kalau kita tidak menjaga itu ya sangat rawan sekali terkena kerusakan lingkungan gitu ya, dan akan sangat berdampak ke iklim. Tadi Pak Agung Alit poinnya adalah bagaimana kita bisa lebih mendorong gitu atau mendukung adanya fair trade yang bisa mendukung dari dari hulu ke hilir gitu ya. Dan kita tadi ada istilah kapitalis sosial gitu. Oke, ada yang akan menyampaikan sesuatu tadi? Saya ada dengar suara-suara.
Halo Mbak Rin.
Oh iya, silahkan Kak Jaisa.
Ya, makasih. Selamat sore buat semuanya. Maaf Karin, saya nggak buka saya lagi di perjalanan.
Tidak apa-apa, silakan.
Ya, kedengaran jelas. Ya, dari tadi saya coba menyimak diskusi kita di sini terkait dengan bagaimana menjaga iklim ini. Sebenarnya kalau kami, saya sebelumnya memperkenalkan diri ya. Saya Jaisa dari Perempuan Aman, Aliansi Masyarakat Adat Nusantara dari komunitas adat di Sulawesi Selatan. Nah, terkait dengan penjagaan iklim ini kan kalau kita di masyarakat adat sejak nenek moyang kita secara turun-temurun memang sudah melakukan hal itu. Misalnya dengan upaya pelestarian lingkungan lewat penjagaan hutan, penjagaan sumber mata air, dan lain sebagainya. Upaya-upaya yang sejak dulu dilakukan itu, misalnya dengan upaya tetap menjaga hutan dengan upaya tetap dengan mempedomani hukum-hukum adat yang berlaku di masyarakat adat. Misalnya ada hukum yang berlaku, tebang satu pohon harus menanam 5 pohon. Jadi sebelumnya ada penggantian baru ditanam satu pohon. Itu pun mekanisme penebangan hutan atau mengambil pohon di hutan adat itu harus dengan musyawarah adat. Jadi harus dengan izin dari tetua adat atau pemerintah adat setempat. Yang menjadi persoalan dan yang upaya-upaya lain yang dilakukan itu misalnya dalam proses penjagaan sungai, jadi harus menanam pohon bambu di sepanjang sungai untuk mengganggu irigasi. Bisa dalam mengelola alam di kemiringan tertentu tidak boleh dikelola lagi, tapi harus dijaga, dilestarikan dengan tanaman-tanaman pohon tertentu, misalnya begitu. Dan yang menjadi persoalan di komunitas adat khususnya di kami di Sulawesi Selatan itu mungkin di seluruh Indonesia terkait dengan banyaknya eksploitasi, pengerusakan hutan dengan dan adanya pembangunan yang tidak berpihak, pemerataan pembangunan yang tidak berpihak ke masyarakat adat. Upaya mestinya pemerintah harus melakukan pengakuan dan perlindungan terhadap masyarakat hukum adat di seluruh Indonesia pun kita bicara skala nasional. Kemudian bagaimana pemerintah tetap mengupayakan untuk pembangunan yang berkearifan lokal. Dan yang lain misalnya kembali ke pangan-pangan lokal yang sejak dahulu kala memang itu sudah dibudidayakan oleh nenek moyang kita di masyarakat adat, dan itu adalah upaya untuk penjagaan pangan-pangan di komunitas dan untuk masyarakat perkotaan juga. Termasuk itu mengurangi distribusi pupuk kimia ke komunitas-komunitas adat. Mungkin itu ya dari saya, Mbak Rin.
Banyak Kak Jaisa. Ya, Kak Jaisa ini jadi ini ya perwakilan masyarakat adat nih di sini kan tadi kita sempat membahas tentang masyarakat adat dan bagaimana kita sangat-sangat perlu untuk belajar kembali untuk bisa belajar dari kebijaksanaan teman-teman dari masyarakat adat. Tadi poinnya Kak Jaisa adalah bagaimana pemerintah agar bisa mengupayakan pembangunan yang menjunjung tinggi kearifan lokal seperti yang dilakukan oleh nenek moyang kita. Terus juga yang kedua adalah stop untuk mendistribusikan pupuk tadi ya, pupuk
Ya,
kimia itu
kimia.
kepada betul sekali. Oke, ini penting banget juga Kak Jaisa. Nah, sebenarnya waktu kita tinggal sedikit lagi, sekitar 3 menit lagi. Tapi saya belum mendengar dari negara lain nih, kayaknya tadi dari tesnya Indonesia, ini ya masih di Indonesia. Kalau gitu boleh nggak dari panelis juga menyampaikan apa sih satu rekomendasi yang harapannya bisa dilakukan gitu oleh para pemangku kepentingan atau pemimpin di Asia Tenggara. Boleh kita mulai dari Aru dulu, silakan.
Listen to the need of the community of people who really live on that land, and co-create the same goal together, work together with people. I think that's what they should do. I think they should have already got the big plan, but sometimes I can see that it's hard for them. It's not common for them to change from one part to the other part. I'm sure they have the same goal, like the big picture, because UNDP and many NGOs push governments to work on these topics, but sometimes they don't know how to make it success. So co-work with people. I think that should be the answer.
Terima kasih banyak Aru mendengarkan dan juga tadi terkait lebih fleksibel dalam melihat kebutuhan eksekusi project gitu, eksekusi rencana gitu. Oke, sekarang kita dengar dari Bjorn. Silakan Bjorn.
Thank you. I think it has been a great discussion, and I've taken in a lot of points as well. I think collectively as an ASEAN society, we need to work together to address issues that's facing us in the next 10 years. And of course, there's a lot of inequity between nations, socioeconomic, inequity. And then there needs to be responsibility held by the people that have caused certain changes or challenges that we are facing today, and for them to step out to take responsibility. I think commonly we can all come together as ASEAN to create a common platform that allows for knowledge transfer and sharing, open sourcing systems of what has worked in certain regions and certain communities, because it's not always directly adaptable from Singapore to Thailand or to Jakarta, right? But certain mechanics do work. And then for social entrepreneurs on the ground in market to take those and then adapt it to the cultural diversity where there is
So
that
hi, the
platform
ones
is
in
important that we should
online.
work
Time is
ASEAN
up.
society.
Udah.
5 menit lagi tadi ya Ara sampaikan ya. Oke, siap. Terima kasih banyak. Sorry, Bjorn, ada lagi yang mau disampaikan? Tadi agak keputus dikit ya. Apakah sudah selesai?
No, I covered. I think that common platform, if the ASEAN government can come together to create that, and for social entrepreneurs and people working on the ground to co-create, like what Arut has shared, open source systems and know-hows and successes and failures, so that we can all then use that to adapt to our own individual situation in countries, because it's all very different. And I hope that can happen.
Nice, ini sangat praktis ya, sangat bisa sekali dilakukan harusnya, dan ini sangat nyambung juga tadi disampaikan oleh teman-teman yang lain terkait ruang untuk saling berbagi dan berkolaborasi gitu ya. Dan kita sebagai masyarakat sipil juga harusnya mau terbuka untuk saling berbagi dan berkolaborasi tadi. Oke, sekarang quickly dari secara cepat dari Betty kemudian ke Bu Hening. Silakan Betty.
Sorry, Ayan, but the time
Yes,
is
so
up.
I agree with what
Can we
everybody
actually
else
wrap up
said
the
already. I
conversation as
think
well?
we all understand that
Since everyone here is waiting. Is that okay? Apologies,
Okay,
we're cutting you off earlier.
Sorry, Ara, can we hear last sentence from Betty and then go to you?
Okay.
Just finish. Okay.
We will wrap up offline, and then online we'll do that later, if that is okay.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make it very quick. The hallmark of a working democracy is actually listening to the people. I think in all local government structure, there's always that space for people's participation. Much of the things that we have listened to about the struggles of indigenous peoples is not unique to a country. It's not unique to your community. I'm so saddened to listen about the Bali experience, but this is true to all indigenous communities in the world. This is a rights issue. So I suppose there have already been existing collaborations among indigenous peoples and groups, and I think there have been active collaborations between IP groups in Asia, in Southeast Asia specifically. And I think we should really, as the chat said, the one communicating in the chat, I agree with that. Let's stay strong. Let's really think as one. We have a voice and we have solutions to say. We have valid needs. This is about our survival as a people and the rest of our neighbors. And so let's just continue doing that. There are solutions, both from the supply side, if we are talking about the food systems, from the supply side and the market side. Let's continue supporting business models that really advocate for sustainability, like fair trade. You have organic agriculture and on the part of the production side. Let's continue to support that. So
thank you, Betty.
Yes.
Selamat Betty. Thank you so much, and ya ini juga jadi closing banget ya, jadi penutup yang manis sekali bahwa kita adalah satu, yaitu satu ASEAN, dan kita harus tetap kuat untuk mempertahankan ini ya, dan juga tadi saling mendengarkan untuk saling berpartisipasi aktif. Oke. Oleh karena itu, kita sepertinya sudah selesai untuk berdiskusinya. Saya akan kembalikan ke Ara untuk kembali melanjutkan sesi di ruang plenary. Ara dan Tiffany, apakah bisa mendengar suara saya? Silakan, kita bisa lanjutkan. Sorry, sebentar ya, kita cek dulu. Silakan kalau ada yang mau menyampaikan sesuatu bisa di kolom komentar juga. Ara, Tiffany, or someone in the venue, can you please unmute so that we can all hear? Okay, let's wait for them to.
Electoral agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for group one. What a wonderful recap. So let's hear from group number two. Well, actually, we haven't even go to the second part because we're running out of time. But I'm trying to conclude for the things that we have discussed for the second group. We are able to hear from here. There was three perspectives that we hear from this group. The first one coming from the youth. The youth basically they want to put the emphasis that the youth actually have voices. They're not someone who are not just sitting there, doesn't know actually what's going on with the climate crisis. They actually know what to do, and it's important for them to be heard, for the youth. And the second thing is that from the group of LGBT people, they believe that they cannot be secluded from this conversation because it's for regarding climate crisis, we cannot just pinpoint who's actually making a mistake because at the end of the day, we are affected, we are deeply affected. So it's not the time to pinpoint each other that you're wrong and you're wrong and you're wrong. We believe that each one of us are affected and we actually have power to create change. And the last thing from the family believes that also it's really deeply effective, especially with the pollution things that are going on in Jakarta, which is really bad for the health of the children and also for the their consumption and things like that. And for these matters, it's really important for the government to consider the use of the private transportation because it's important to try to switch to the public transportation in order to have a cleaner air. So the bottom line is that, and again, as I said, that each one of us are affected. So please don't exclude any group because we all are affected. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from the online group as well. What is one highlight from the discussions that you had earlier? Perhaps Ayanda, as the facilitator for the online group, can you share one highlight from your conversation?
Sure. So from the online, we had a very fruitful discussion. For the first question, we agreed that the climate resilience could only be achieved with the collective action because we cannot do that alone. And then we can start with doing something relevant with our daily life. So we need to bring the big narratives of the climate change, climate crisis into a very relevant with our daily activities. We can start from something simple and then from something fun. We can also create or finding a local champion that can facilitate change or can inspire or encourage more young people or other people to start their own initiatives in the climate crisis. In terms of the second point or the recommendation to the Asian governments, the first one is we urge them to build the knowledge management system that can allow all the CSOs, especially the indigenous communities and also the most affected people in the climate crisis, so that we can learn from each other and then we can collaborate with each other. The second point is give the financial support for the initiatives or the countries who really give the huge impact in this issue. Last one is coming back to the local wisdom from the indigenous communities or our ancestors. And one of the things that we can do is start the fair trade for all the things or the things that we usually use in everyday life. We need to think more aware and then use the fair trade model instead of the capitalism. That's all from the online. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let's hear from the third group as well, which is the fourth group now. Inlands group, who will be representing yours? Okay. Can we have Aya and Mr. Tony to the stage? It seems like you already coordinated the costume.
Terima kasih. Hello, my name is Tony. Nama saya Tony dari Philippines. I'm not Indonesian, I'm Filipino. Orang Filipina.
Hi everyone, I am Aya, I'm from Indonesia, and actually one of African change maker.
Okay, so just to summarize what we talked about earlier, we talked about climate justice, of course. But we talked about making sure that we understand really what climate justice is, what it really is about, and we want to talk about as CSOs, we want to ensure that we work on making sure that people are aware, are literate about climate justice.
Yeah, so it also ensures that people they can climate education from like early age through formal or non-formal education. As well, we are also talking about putting more young people and also like people with different marginalized and vulnerable background to be in the civic spaces. So we want to promote young people and people in marginalized or vulnerable communities to be involved in every decision making process, including in the CEs or process in the project cycle from the designing, implementing to evaluation as well with the government when they're trying to make a regulation or recommendation regarding of climate justice in every country in the Asian region.
Thank you. And we also talked about that food, which is also a great part of climate justice, is genderless. So everybody should be included. It is also ageless. So the young people, children, young people, those who are in their middle ages and those who are elderly should always be included. Everybody should be included. Well, for me, because I work with an organization or a network that works on SOGIESD issues, people of diverse SOGI are always the last to be considered for climate justice. So we also talked about that and make sure that CSOs work with people of diverse. We also talked about a great concept earlier that we should always think about what we do to the environment because it always comes back to us. We talked about, I shared about Ubuntu, the African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because you are, I'm here because you're here because I'm here. And that also applies to the environment, that whatever you do to the environment, it will always come back to you, maybe indirectly, but it will always.
Yes, that's a really great concept. And the last one we talk about, we as the Asian people, as the people in the government of the Asian, we should promoting all the climate agreement that already happened. Let's say about Paris Agreement, the NPCs, or even any other framework like Sendai framework and stuff that we are have to promoting and make that to happen. Just not only just like a framework that everyone we know about that, but actually like nobody cares about it. And yeah, we do know that some people or some country they are actually like contributing the CO2 the most. And we want climate compensation for those countries who are already more impacted by that. Because like people say it's like, oh, we don't care about climate change because we don't impacted by that. But out there are countries that are struggling right now, and they need climate compensation for that.
Okay.
A last point, we want to ensure that the ASEAN provides spaces for collaboration, partnerships, and where people, specifically the key affected people, the marginalized communities, to be part of the programming and ensuring that they are part of the development and they grow with the project within ASEAN and make sure that governments are accountable for climate injustice.
Thank you so much. Very, very comprehensive pointers from the fourth group. Last but not least, Barina's group.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm from Papua and I'm from group 3. Yeah. Okay. Really, our in our group, we came from different country, of course, and also we work on different issue also. And there are some interesting things that I would like to share from my group is there are 2 or 3 people they talk about the issues that they working on that they believe that very related with the climate issues. Like one of our friends talking about um, her working on LGBT issues. She thinks that there is there is LGBT issues, very LGBT issues is one issue that very related with climate change, and also there are some young friends that see working on youth in Cambodia, right? In Cambodia, and she using social media to increase young people to share with young people about climate change, and also some of us we working on indigenous people issues because we believe that if we working together with them and strengthen uh, their capability, or because we believe that indigenous people is a one who standing in front line to protect forest and land, and also we and for ASEAN, we all of us think that we have to demand every country in ASEAN to um, to have a treaty that focus on protecting and protecting forest and land in every country, and also and also the every country have to make a regulation that focus on human rights, focus on indigenous people. Like Indonesia, we would like to ask every country in ASEAN to asking Indonesia to have to ratify indigenous people law. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. What I'm hearing is that yes, it is important for us to scale out, get a wider community, scale up, also working with the government, scale deep into framework and also mindset change. But also something that is interesting that I heard from today's conversation is also to scale down the issue. It seems like environmental issues or like climate crisis is very big that we cannot actually contribute to it, but if actually scale it down into everyday life, from how we purchase things, how we eat, the food, the clothes that we wear, how we go to school, how we work, scaling it down into everyday life and how we collaborate with one another, it seems doable that we can actually protect our environment, not protect, actually coexist together in a more sustainable way. Last but not least, Ibu Nani opens, but also Ibu Nani will close our conversation today. If it is in Indonesia, it says that yang mengawali juga yang mengakhiri. Ada lagi ya?
Okay. All right. Wow. Let's big applause to all of us. Very inspiring and rich conversation. Several takeaways, I think, some keywords here. Intersections, that means climate narrative, climate crisis is not single out from other issues that we are working on. And inclusion, Diversity, equality, and inclusion is one of the big conversations here. And collective, that's also another keyword for takeaways. Indigenous wisdom and practice as the guiding light for us. Climate narrative to live reality in daily practice. So it's not up on the air or just a political conversation or activism conversation, but it's really daily life. So we need to find new climate narrative. Then government accountable, including budget, policy enforcement, political will, and the role of corporations. Then how can we transform all that who use economic practice in their activities? Well, thank you so much for this. And yeah, we try to write up the discussion here and submit it to the committee. Hopefully, they can integrate our results of the discussion here into their recommendations to the government of ASEAN in next week. Have a great evening, everyone, and see you around.
And thank you as well to your Betty, and others as well. Welcome. Maybe we can let's take a picture together.
Thank you so much, Ara, and all the team there. We will have a quick photo together with the okay.
Let's go to that side.
Okay, for those who are still here, you can also fill out the form of attendance so that we can stay in touch, hopefully. So yeah, the form of attendance is in the chat. We are still waiting for the group photo, right, Ara? Okay. Wow, a lot of people there. Okay, I think we are all on the screen now. Someone from the venue can give us a cue, probably. Okay, I think everyone is taking. Yes, please give us a clue. Okay, so probably they don't hear us. Cool. I think we are done with the photo session. Thank you so much for staying a bit late from the schedule. Ara, do you want to say something else, or we are good? Okay, I think we are okay. Yes, this is the barcode. Everyone who want to stay in touch with Ashoka, you can go to the website and also Ashoka Instagram. Yes. The team there text me and say that it's quite hectic there. So let's just close the session here in the online. So on behalf of the team, and Ashoka team here, I would love to say thank you so much for all the panelists, Bjorn, Aru, Betty, and also Ibu Hening, who have shared a very, very insightful insightful points to all of us, and all of your best practices that you have done with your communities, and here of course with for all of the participants here as well from all the countries who join us in sharing their sharing all your accommodation and also your lesson learned from what you have done in your community. So yeah, stay in touch and hopefully we can gather in person like what they experience in the venue. So yeah, see you all again, and yeah, feel free to leave the Zoom now.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ara. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you all.